always talk about how the skin affects the whole body, and we're spearheading that new line of research, like this study which just shows how the skin microbiome has a direct link to the brain, which is incredible, which no one before would have ever imagined, because they see the skin as separate from the whole body.
Sam and Kit Bowen-Russell, who really took skincare into their own hands.
Twin brothers from the UK who are taking the skincare industry by storm.
Sam is a nuclear astrophysicist, and Kit is a geophysicist and author.
A Notre Dame grad and his twin brother are looking to revolutionize skin health.
The two launched a 2-year intensive research study.
Two very smart guys who knew all about bad skin at a very early age.
That woman at the end was our mum, and really she's the face which launched 1,000 questions for us.
Right, we'll continue on with the recent format we've been going for, which is a blog a week, and we're going to deep dive into it. For this week, Sam, can you give us a topic, give us the high level, please, mate.
Topic this week is how the skin microbiome affects brain activity.
How skin microbiome affects brain activity. Fantastic. And have you guys firstly done any studies on this at all or not? Or is this purely all research done by other people?
Yeah, this isn't a study we've done. This is
fantastic.
Well, one, I think this is pretty groundbreaking in the research that they are doing. But two, yeah, we just study the skin directly itself without.
So we could kind of like categorize this as a topic that you guys aren't super comfortable in, and we'll proviso it already with. There might be some areas of this that we don't fully know, but we're going to always do our best to research post the pod, and then we can re-inform listeners maybe at a later date. But anyway,
but I already know everything about everything, so it's all right.
But, okay, so you're all good, Sam.
About everything. I'm all-seeing.
The all-seeing.
Don't you ever question the experts? Have you got that? We are the experts. Don't question us ever.
That might shut this podcast down straight away. Don't question it. Okay, right.
Yeah, Adam, sorry. You're right about that. Basically, this is one study which came out recently, which wasn't done by us. So it's a study done by other people, and we just summarise them. But it's linked really closely to what we're doing.
Which and Kit on that piece, right? Which is, I think in recent pods we've always gone down skin microbiome and kind of like the impacts on the skin itself. But then we started, bringing in the topics of like whole body health, blah blah blah. So this topic here in itself would fit into that part, right? Of the skin microbiome can influence the whole body, and in this case, it would be the brain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So we always talk about on previous episodes. We always talk about how the skin affects the whole body, and we're spearheading that new line of research. But then there's other things. There's loads of things coming out at the moment, like this study, which just shows how crucial the skin is for things like brain health, which no one before would have ever imagined, because they see the skin as separate from the whole body.
For me, this is cool. I like this topic especially. But so I've read a bit of the blog that you guys put up, and there was one quote in there that I already have a question on, which was, do you have it up, by the way? Do you have the blog up or not?
The actual blog, yeah.
Yeah. The question at the top says, the quote says, removing the skin bacterial population indicates a considerable improvement in attention level. So my question straight away, as I'm reading there, is removing the population of microbes, I'm guessing, increases brain attention or whatever, but the function of the brain, let's say. So everything we've been saying previously has always been we want to have more diversity, right, on the skin, and more. So what's going on there? Come on, Kit, give me a bit more there.
That's a really good.
That's a brilliant question. And again, we need to preface. I think we need to preface looking at every study with that. The whole point about studies is it depends how they can be analysed and what angle you look at it from. So, for example, these guys have come up, or girls have come up with that conclusion. But in fact, what they might be looking at is the removal of certain microbes might be linked to this increase in brain activity, blah, 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 blah. But what you need to do is look at it often in the long term and in the whole as well. So that's something which when you get to certain studies, they often focus on very narrow parameters. So often it doesn't tell the whole picture. But
Okay.
the crucial thing here is that the skin microbiome has a direct link to the brain, which is incredible. So what we need to do in the future is find out, okay, right, as you say, Adam, probably increasing the diversity probably has a good effect on the brain in many levels. And they, in this study, they also only looked at a certain parameter of brain function as well. So it's not an overall picture.
Yeah.
Do you know? Sorry, you go, Sam. You go, mate.
Oh no, I was just gonna put my 2 cents. This it's basically saying this study to me shows that the skin microbiome and the brain is connected, and obviously the study is talking about if you remove this type and blah blah, but everything's so non-linear that we can't make direct conclusions. So basically, the skin microbiome is directly affected to the brain. This study shows me, which is amazing. And then secondly, we need to understand how it's affected lately after that. So that's the main thing for me. It says.
Yeah. So the part of me, I like the idea of the non-linearity, or you call it, of what we're talking about with microbiome and diversity, and just needing more of them, I guess, should naturally lead to better health or whatever. But I do love the idea of when someone does say, hey, because I've asked you this question before, right? Like, are there certain microbes that should or should not exist, kind of thing, or at least in the human body? Do they have a detrimental effect? So obviously these guys were looking at one microbe or something, right? Like one species of microbe. That's the right phrase.
I think, I don't know, because they talk about certain microbes again, but basically everyone in the field always looks at like types of microbes. They're all of them do. They're all so sort of narrow.
And you might counter that by saying, cool, but if you guys, maybe what this isn't, so that isn't necessarily testing or analyzing diversity, right? That's just simply saying they were trying to find a correlation between one microbe and brain function, let's call it. I guess. Right.
And to me, you would need to do all the other tests on, because you could go through each type of microbe and remove them, and then the brain activity moves here and moves there. So, I mean, it's not conclusive by any stretch, because again, you could also test another person with the same type of bacteria, and it has a different effect on a different region of the brain, which is what I think once they expand the study, that's what I think will happen, because you can never predict exactly what the effects are.
Is this study potentially not a first, but like quite a relatively new one into this space?
Yeah. It's a really pioneering one. This one.
That's why I was saying, for me, obviously when we get into detail, but for me the whole headline of this is just firstly that your skin microbiome, that the community on your skin affects how you think, which is crazy to me. Well, I mean, for us researching it, we know that happens because everything's linked. But for most people, they don't think that, well, I could, I don't know, put some product on my skin and then it changes the way I think. That's crazy to most people.
Let me call you out on one thing there, though, Sam, which is you've kind of almost said, I've already forgotten what Kit said, which is don't question the experts. But
we need to be blasted with questions and from all angles.
Yeah, Adam, I said it highly ironically because people who say don't question the experts are often really, really insecure, and it's what dictatorial regimes say.
Which is what we're in right now, right? You guys dictating.
We've given you a script sheet and what you can.
And there is a gun currently right off camera pointing at my head.
Yeah, it's a hostage video.
Megan's in the back room.
Yeah. Very good. Mike, Sam, you just, before this, you said, you almost were basically saying it's very conclusive that the skin microbiome can impact brain activity, right? You're pretty confident in that. That's what I got from it.
I don't know about I don't know fully about how conclusive the actual
There we go. So
The issue is
What? How conclusive is what?
the study. I don't know.
About what?
Well,
It shows that if you change the skin microbiome, there's a direct change in aspects of the brain.
how big's the study? How many people were involved? All that stuff, right? Like, because it's one study, right? And it's this fairly new one. So how can you be quite certain when there's only been one study on the area?
Well, there's 20 people involved, and it was done. It was published in Scientific Reports, a huge journal. So it's pretty conclusive. And the thing is, there's a huge amount of evidence showing that the skin does really affect the brain. It's just that they need clinical studies like this to actually start focusing on it, because no one before even thought it was an area relevant or worth focusing on.
yeah. So there's been a lot of links and showing that this is linked to the brain, but now this is sort of using people
So, Adam,
directly studying it.
There's huge amounts of papers about how your gut microbiome affects the brain. Mm-hmm. So we always say that the skin microbiome is intrinsically linked to the gut and can affect the gut and vice versa. So if those two are linked, then how would the skin not be linked to the brain? That would be the question.
Fair enough.
So it's very obvious that the skin is linked to the brain, but this is one of the first papers, I think, from what I've seen, showing directly that changes in the skin directly affect the brain.
Fair enough. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but for me a 20-person study, that's not enough, right?
No, definitely not.
20s
it's not enough to know, like you were saying, the type of microbe and which part of the brain it hurts is not enough to do that.
It's pretty conclusive, though.
Yeah. So for the overall theme of does the skin affect the brain? Yeah, I mean that's a good start. But to find the exact processes, you can't do it with 20.
Yeah, but there was one of the most cited papers ever. Can't remember in which field it was. Apparently, one of the most cited scientific papers ever only tested their hypothesis on one person.
No, really?
Yeah. So all this stuff nowadays about you need more than 20, you need like hundreds of people. One of the most cited papers ever is just on one person. So again, that shows that actually sometimes scientists don't really care about that when they read it, and two, that we could be over-egging things like the amount of people they do it on. But then it's probably just bad scientific practice.
What? Okay. Completely depends on the topic, I guess, right, and what was trying to be proven, but a one-person study.
Well, they always say that you need a good sample size to be able to prove anything, like you just said. But 20 people is a good one. That's a good start. It's a bit like preliminary. Yeah, it's a bit like a preliminary idea. They got pretty conclusive results as well. They saw like a direct correlation between skin microbiome change and then changes in the brain, which is crazy. But again, this is what we've been saying and what we said in our most recent research paper, but this one came out after ours. Our most recent research paper basically summed up all of the areas of whole body health which the skin microbiome affects. So like the brain, lungs, heart, all of the organs, the gut.
Fair enough. How well versed, Kit, are you in gut's impact on the brain as well? It's an area I don't know much about, to be honest with you, but
quite good. There's been so many on how the gut affects mental health, things like depression, stuff like that. So they've linked a healthy gut to things like less depression and things like this. There's loads of studies on how the gut is said to affect whole body health and chronic diseases, including mental health and things in the brain. Huge amount on it, including in sports performance, where if you have a better, more diverse gut microbiome, you have more concentration in sports, more confidence in sports. They've concluded. But this is, well, as far as I'm aware, this is the first time it's actually been done directly on the skin, which is huge news. But then also, it's huge news because it's what we've been saying for many years, and it's how we teach about the skin microbiome, how it's linked to every aspect of whole body health, and how the skin is just a crucial aspect of the whole system. So if you were doing a scientific experiment, Adam, and you had a system, and you changed part of that system, you'd expect to see something if you change part of that system. That's how systems work. And people previously were seeing the skin as outside the system of the rest of the body, which is ridiculous. So it's very obvious that the skin is just part of the body system. And obviously, if you change one part of that system, it's going to have effects on the whole system.
This is maybe a little bit more of a personal question here, but would you guys, because I know you've done studies in the past, I can't remember, was it was it with with Austria and Graz? Was it you worked with that
Oh
university?
yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you guys do more kind of like I don't know how involved you were in that study itself, but yeah, would you guys do more research yourselves, like contribute towards the overall topic of microbiome anywhere on the body and overall
Definitely.
health?
Yeah, I mean that's in the
Yeah.
books. I mean, Kit, you led the whole research.
Yeah, I led the whole research. They did the analysis, some of this stats, things like that. But then I did the big picture and led the whole research. But the most recent research we did with 2 medical centres in Romania, that was our biggest one today, and it's basically talking about how the skin is crucial for whole body health. That's it. Yeah. So the idea to do more research, we have the bigger picture for many research things. But again, I'm more about the bigger picture and using this research to help millions of people across the world with skin problems.
Yeah,
instead of just focusing on quite narrow areas where
and piecing,
I bring together all the pieces.
Yeah, piecing together so everyone else does all the sort of each different niche and area and blah blah. And what we do is we then piece it together so you can have a big picture of what you need to do to optimize your whole body health.
Have you guys in your line of work ever come across someone who says they have depression and have come to you seeking advice?
Oh yeah,
Loads, yeah.
yeah.
You mean specifically for depression?
Yes.
Well, they've
no,
normally
most
got
of them have come with, like we're saying, the ones with extreme skin conditions,
problems.
eczema, and topical steroid withdrawal.
So they're depressed. They're potentially depressed because of the disease that they have, right? Because it's causing them, stress.
Yeah, but then again, like you're saying, look at that. We can go into that now from the skin affecting the brain, and because people always talk about the gut affecting the brain, and you need to be eating healthily if you're just destroying your gut, and then it's not going to be good for your mental health. So the same now can be applied to the skin. So if these people coming to us with extreme skin conditions, then obviously physically and for the pain and everything, it's not good mentally, but also a direct connection from that paper is now saying that it could be actually causing changes in the brain too.
Yeah. Wait, hold up. Let me quickly again challenge you on one thing there though, because I would say if someone has a pretty serious skin disease, it's probably the actual look of that potentially, which is why they are depressed, right? Because they go, "Fuck, I don't look good. I've got this weird thing on my body." Where as opposed to the real test for me would be they don't have anything physically different, but the microbiome on their skin or wherever is not as diverse as maybe it should be, right? And yet they still are depressed, right? So there's no physical thing, tangible thing they can see. It's just simply they do have a low microbiome diversity, and that is positively that is definitely impacting their mood.
You're thinking a lot more intelligently than most scientists, Adam. So as you say, you need to isolate the cause, and it's very hard sometimes in like a big system. So obviously, if you have really bad skin problems, you feel really bad about yourself because you're worried and you're self-conscious about how you look to other people. So that could be seen as not the skin microbiome itself, but also your perception of how you look being the problem for your depression.
Yeah.
But then also there could be a bit of things like the skin microbiome itself causing, say, wrong
changes in the brain.
chemical imbalances in the brain and stuff like that.
Or just changes in the brain.
So those are the two things you've got to look for. And again, no one's done anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question for you: as people who love sport, just like myself, you kind of need to be quite motivated, don't you, to like get up and go, right, I want to go run or whatever, put my body through physical stress. And I've always, I don't know if you guys have it, but I definitely have days where you don't feel as energetic as you think you should be, right? And that for me, and maybe depression is because depression is super aggressive, right? I've always heard Jordan Peterson talk about it, and it just sounds like I don't think I've ever come close to that, right, myself. But even just like not enough mental motivation, positive thoughts in your mind is it's not depression, but it's something that potentially stops you from doing the things you want to do, right? And imagine that would be a really cool thing. It's so hard to measure it, I guess, because again, it's all perceptive.
You're right. You're right.
But
it's tough to measure.
No,
Well,
I like that. Yeah. Well,
you were talking about the link to sport too, which is really interesting because they've done studies on sport and the gut microbiome, and they talk about the gut microbiome being linked to motivation and performance in sport.
Yeah.
So then, like we were saying, if the skin microbiome is directly linked to the gut microbiome, which it is, then the skin microbiome, then by inference, can then affect motivation and performance in sport.
yeah. Which we're actually leading. Probably shouldn't say this, but we're leading probably the world's first project on how the skin microbiome affects sports performance, and helping sports people across the world with their sports performance due to the skin microbiome. And you asked about research, Adam. I'm doing a research paper on how the skin microbiome affects sports performance. That's the next one.
That's cool, mate. Why only skin? I get skin is, I guess, the area that you guys have been most focused in over the last 5 years or whatever. But why only skin? Because surely, like you've said, like it's all linked. It's all do you know what I mean? Like why would when we think about the microbiome in general of the whole body, it's not just skin, right? It's gut, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So to only focus on skin might be doing it an injustice to the overall study itself.
Well, yeah, I get that. But what I would say is that, again, everything we do is saying that skin should be implemented as part of a whole body regime.
Yeah,
so we're not saying it's just the skin, but no one has done any research on the direct effect of skin microbiome on sports performance.
I think
everyone has done research on the effect of the gut microbiome on sports performance. So we don't need to do any more research. It's all out there on the gut microbiome. But what we're saying is, and our big thing at the moment is that the missing piece of the puzzle for whole body health, including sports performance, could be the skin microbiome. So if you implement the skin microbiome as part of a whole body health regime, that's when you're likely to have the best results.
Yeah.
So many people take care of their gut, they take care of their fitness, they take care of their mental health, they do things like meditation, they eat well, all of the aspects of whole body health, but they forget the skin.
Here's one for you. With the gut microbiome itself. So sorry, pretty good answer to my question, which was, it's the whole body kind of thing, right? But you want to also try and isolate certain things to kind of prove they do have a positive impact, right? Here's one for you, which is with the gut microbiome, surely the way that you influence that. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm now wrong. But anyway, my thought was going to be the way you influence the diversity of microbes in your gut is through food, right? Or through whatever you consume. I'm guessing there's actually, it's not just that, right? It's everything again. If all the microbiomes are linked together, or whatever. But my whole point was yes, you've got the diversity of microbes in your gut, but secondly, you're also consuming a fuel source, right? And just simply the foods you eat also have an impact on how you feel, right? And performance, let's say, in sport. But whereas what would be really cool would be if you said to someone, look, we know you've got a pretty good diversity in your gut, but now we're going to then just pure. So we already know we can go almost kind of to some extent eliminate that out of the picture. And now let's purely focus on the skin. And then that's really work on you boosting your diversity on the skin. Does that mean that you now, again, can you even unlock more attention, in your mind or whatever, and concentrate
on that stuff?
There we go. We don't need to say anything about our studies and the project, Adam. You've just summed it up there.
That's exactly how you do it. You're right. That's exactly it.
And the point you make too is that most people, especially nowadays, everyone loves and is obsessed with, you see probiotics and then organic and for the foods. So everyone's obsessed with that. So they're actually doing a good job on the gut. And also the gut, like you said, is enclosed. So there's less things that can get at it. So, but the skin is on the outside. So there's so many things, environmental factors that can get at it. And so everyone does a actually pretty good job on the gut. Even though everyone's talking about how it can boost your everything. But the one missing piece of the puzzle is the skin, because it's on the outside and it's directly exposed to all of these environmental factors.
We talked about it a lot in the last pod, but the fact that the skin is this open. Is it what do you call the skin, by the way? What is that as a piece of the body? Is it an organ?
It's
an organ?
The biggest
organ,
organ,
right?
body. Biggest organ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you lay it down, it covers the whole football field or something. I remember that kind of piece or whatever it was. But anyway.
Yeah, you could be right about that. I don't know how big it actually is laid down.
That might be a Q. You remember QI, the TV show? There might be one of those things where it's like it's false. But because of the fact that there's so many things that can influence it, and because it's not this closed system, it's an open system, right? Does that make it quite hard to try and scientifically prove or research or do these studies on the skin in a way, because it is so open to many variables that are quite hard to control?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, having a bit more open to the environment is hard, because there are things in the environment which could always change the skin. So yeah, you have to be careful of things like that. So there's a number of ways you can get around it, but basically you have to be wary, and you have to be understanding that it is an open system as opposed to the gut. Yeah. So you're right, it is a bit easier to measure changes in the gut probably.
Yeah, but so what you need to do is you need to keep what we've done, and you can say that, but you keep the conditions of the people the same. So what you want to, there's loads of things, sort of daily battering, but you want to, if you're testing one variable, say we're testing the products, cosmetics, you want to keep all the other conditions the same, what they're doing. So we don't want them to suddenly then go to Morocco and be in a completely different environment, because that will change the skin. So you want to keep all the other conditions the same, and then change the one that you're testing, and that's always how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
If you guys experiment, can you guys personally yourself say? Are you okay? Here's another one. Are you guys on your own skin microbiome journey? Are you guys constantly trying to figure out what you should? Yeah. Have you noticed an increase in increase in performance in sport?
Well, I definitely notice from using, because I use the techniques we use in our Skin Microbiome Fitness plans we roll out across the world and help people with. Whenever I use them and the products which we created for them, whenever I use them, my skin feels amazing coming out of the shower. And if I've played like a long 5 set of tennis or football or something like that, it actually does really help recovery of my muscles and things like that after sport. But that's just a personal observation. But we did do it with a tennis team in America as well, and they did notice these things as well. And it helps because it does things like relaxes your skin and your muscles. It helps you sleep as well. So sleep's a really important factor in sports performance. But again, those are just personal observations. But we did formulate it to be incredibly good for the skin microbiome and increase the biodiversity.
Sam, for you, anything or not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we always find the reason that we made it. When we used it.
Made what? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, the skin fitness programs. And our products, obviously. But I mean, for me, if I don't use the products, or if I have, say, a period where I don't use it, I mean, I instantly feel better using them. And that's why we made them. And again, we made it initially for the skin problems themselves. But through our research over the years, we just found so many things that it can be linked to. Because we didn't start off saying that the skin would be directly linked to the brain. But now we're here and we're finding, wow, it's actually even bigger than we thought. So before, we realised everyone was having their skin microbiome destroyed in the West. So it's on average, the skin microbiome is massively damaged.
Let me test Adam on that one. Can I?
Yeah.
Adam, how damaged, or what's the decrease in biodiversity compared to our ancestors? Can you remember? Percentage-wise.
Percentage. 70.
Ooh.
You're close, yeah. Basically, we always say 30 to 85%, so up to 85% damage.
So, fair enough. Okay. That's a pretty big bracket.
Yeah, but still 30% reduction in biodiversity in the wild would be huge, wouldn't it? David Attenborough talks about, we've actually, I think...
well, how much of the Amazon rainforest have we lost? Is probably one piece, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that stat. I was trying to think. There was another stat about in 60 years, how much biodiversity we've lost. But yeah, I think it was around about 30% or something like that, or less. So anyway, sorry, carry on, Sam. I interrupted.
I can't remember what I was saying.
That's all right, mate. I was just asking you, like, in your own journey of trying to improve the diversity of microbes on your skin, have you felt a positive, improvement in your sport or health or fitness in general? I guess was the question.
I feel better in every area from doing it. I mean, the hard part is because I've been using it for so long that I can't remember exactly what it was like before that. But I mean, I just the one thing to say is I instantly feel better whenever I keep up.
And it's a whole body thing as well.
Microbiome.
It's a long-term process most of the time.
Yeah.
So and the other thing is your skin wasn't used to it as well. So it takes a bit of time for your skin to get used to the environment it's creating.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to again kind of ask you, because you kind of mentioned that you almost see a pretty quick change whenever you were to use like a Jumu or use your herbal tea thing you're talking about, right? But my understanding is, I wouldn't have thought it would be that quick. Within a day's use or so, right, you would see something straight away. But that's what you're saying, right?
No, but my skin's got used to Jumo, so it does. Whenever I do use it, I just come out feeling amazing. I come out feeling so soft and smooth and stuff like that. And what we've noticed from people on our plans is that actually does happen when they get to, say, like the second month or the third month, because their skin's got used to the environment that's being created by the product.
So your skin's training,
yeah, pretty much, yeah. But it's a long-term process again. Especially, it's a bit like in the gym. You don't if you've if you've been doing the gym for like a long time, you can go to the gym once, and then you probably do see a bit more improvement than, say, the first time.
I agree with that completely. That your base. Say if you were to have gym for 3 months and you stop for 3 months, you're probably going to completely go back to where you were, right? But if you've been gymming for like a year and you stop for 3 months, you probably your reset level probably is higher than what it would have been if you hadn't have done, right? So I agree with that.
So and then it's like it's like anything. The benefits come from having a lifestyle change, not from looking for an instant gratifying massive change from there. So that's why we run people through 4-month programs, Skin Fitness Packages, because everyone is always looking for a quick fix, instant, incredible thing. So say if you went to the gym, there's these massive bodybuilders who say they do big weights, but they take someone through what their routine would be, and then the person comes out going, I thought, they were like, oh, that's pretty standard. And they go, yeah, but I've done this over and over again for 15 years straight. And so, if you do the same thing, so say if you eat pizza for 15 years straight for every day, probably not going to be good. If you then eat organic, really healthy foods for 15 years straight, then you see the long-term effects of it. So the same with the skin. If you damage it for 15 years straight, over time, you'll average out to have much lower diversity in health. Do the same with the skin on a skin fitness program that no one does, then you're going to be seeing much bigger improvement. And that's why we guide people through that and change the mindset from a instant gratification to a long-term process.
Hi there, mate. Last question. What do you both, or either one of you, what do you guys do that you want to change, that you think is probably goes against what all your studies and everything have been focused on? Is there anything you guys do that you think you shouldn't be doing or using?
Not on the skin, but I mean, there's loads in daily life. Having a beer, eating chocolate, blah blah, all of eating crisps. There's loads of things, but that's you've got to have a bit of joy too. But the point, or a massive amount of joy. But the point is that most people, say if we're talking about the skin again, going back to the skin, most people, it's like I was saying about eating pizza. What they do is most people have fast food every single day, 5 times a day on their skin. That's the analogy. So you destroy. It's not even like it's I need this nice smell. You just destroy your skin every single day, and that's what most people. That's the difference. So it's good to have like breaks where you just treat yourself every so often.
Yeah, you do need to enjoy your life.
I agree. And that is a nice one to finish on, by the way. I like that.
Yeah.
There we go, boys. Right.
Like the health freak mentality. It's got to be 100% and like all of that.